Okay, next selection here. Much like Joe Perry from Aerosmith being an incredible contributor to the band's overall sound, this next pick, if you don't know who Mike Campbell is, he's a guitarist from Tom Petty. So we have in this song Mike Campbell playing lead guitar. You'll hear in this tune, which is Breakdown, some really nice pentatonic licks. This one is just a vamp back and forth, much less complicated than the song by Aerosmith in terms of the overall song structure and places that it goes, different movements in there. This one basically just zigs and zags, mostly back and forth. And really this lead that kind of meanders its way in and out throughout the song is mostly covering that part where it's just the A minor and the G. So check that out next. Look for those pentatonic passages and look at how effective it can be at kind of setting a mood. All right, enjoy. Last selection here is Miss You by the Rolling Stones. Enjoy it. Listen for the pentatonic. It's basically popping back and forth between A minor and a D minor, so very much a minor feel. So these are all minor melodies, and the pentatonic just fits so nicely in there. I try to play a little bit of different things, adding a little bit of minor, adding a little bit of the blue notes, and just using different types of attack to try and make it more interesting. And if you listen to the song, you listen to it with good headphones, you can hear that separation. You can hear the lead guitar is doing all types of interesting things and really doesn't seem to really be chained to whatever's happening in the song. It's just interesting pieces throughout, and I think that part of that sweetness of that song is that interesting, lively lead guitar. Very frequently, we get to be pretty good. When you first start playing the guitar, you learn how to phrase really well in pentatonic blues, and that becomes a kind of a comfort zone for a lot of people. And many people never quite develop the same facility of playing in a major key. So if you're playing pentatonic minor and blues, that tends to be where we feel at home. And what we're about to do right now is going to kind of kick the door open of what could be pretty limited territory, although you can get a lot of jobs done with pentatonic and minor. But I think you're going to find, like I have, that it's very liberating to then start to bring some of that same technique and ideas, but then bring it into a major context. So here's the deal. The cheat sheet version of this is, if you're playing in any given major key, we're going to say the key of C right now, you can solo using the shape of your pentatonic minor by moving back a minor third. Translation, by moving back basically 3 frets. So if you're in the key of C major, you can back it up to here and solo in the key of A minor. So just to prove this, I know it sounds weird, but those are relative major and minor of one another. They're very closely associated. In fact, they're all the same notes, so that I can play in this very comfortable form, which is my pentatonic minor, right? Except I'm going to be emphasizing certain other notes. So rather than most of the time when you'll see, if you watch any of the other stuff that was on here, you'll see that a lot of times if I was in the key of A minor, I'd be landing a lot on my root notes, octaves. Very common to do that. All right, here though, instead, we're going to be focused on, and you'll see the groups that we're about to highlight here, they do the same thing, where whatever key they're in, this major key, they're playing in that minor pentatonic shape, whether it's AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, or what's the other band that's on here? Oh yeah, Pink Floyd. Regardless of who it is, these groups do a whole lot of this. You're going to see right out of the gate when you look at this Pink Floyd piece here and Wish You Were Here, that they're pulling very pentatonic shapes that sound melodic, sound beautiful, because they're tied to and they're kind of decorating the triads of each of those chords. So as you listen to it, it's no secret why these are beloved songs, because they're amazing. And because the taste of the lead guitar players is so phenomenal and so one of a kind that these songs stay forever. When these notes arrive, they just sound like they're perfectly delivered. But if you look at the shapes, very pentatonic in their construction, but they're not limited to that. These are master guitar players who are adding, notes to make sense with the given, if it's a minor chord, they may outline the minor triad, they'll expand it. So for each one of these, listen in the first one of the Pink Floyd just being so beautifully, in the chords, and that's kind of the thing to notice. The second one, listen to the energy Slash brings to it. He's mostly rooted in that pentatonic first position here, and so, but what you're inheriting here is this E shape right here, which is in reference to this G. So the song is in the key of G. Landed on the last one, which I think is so incredibly effective, the AC/DC Angus Young, sound is so amazing, because he's constantly popping in and out of major and minor, and you can hear it, and you can hear these bends that are very minor, and then he'll bring it back in and sweeten it by putting it into that major tonality, and he's kind of switching back and forth and blending major and minor pentatonics, which is something that I think we didn't really get much to, but if you listen to people like B.B. King, some of those like beautiful, sweet blues lead masters, you'll hear it like crazy all over blues. You hear Stevie Ray Vaughan doing it. You hear all the, any great, Joe Bonamassa, any great guitar player who plays in the blues motif or blues genre, mostly, you'll see that they can crisscross in and out. And then when one of their songs is in the key of major, you hear how beautifully they can bring those pentatonic skills into the major context. So enjoy these. When it's all said and done, we'll tie it up, put an end to this pentatonic pentathlon. closing, start experimenting with pentatonics. Listen for it. When you start figuring out a song and you start to realize, oh, your hand's making that shape, start thinking, is this song in the major key? Is this song in the minor key? And what is the writer doing? You know, what is the guitarist doing and choosing to do here? And maybe you can emulate some of that in your own playing. All right, try it when you jam, or try it with your looping pedal, where you can dictate which chords you want to put in and experiment with different leads. Remember, we've mentioned in the last video too, the Mixolydian is one of those interesting keys where you can play major over it, you can play pentatonic over it. Make this part 2, the end of our Pentatonic Pentathlon, sadly, but make it, you know, the beginning of what you do in terms of exploring this. If you have other cool ideas of other songs that I left on the table and maybe, you know, you want to suggest for other people to listen to, throw them in the comments. But definitely check these songs out with fresh ears. You know, a lot of these are songs that maybe, you know, the radio has played into oblivion, but there's a reason why they're beloved decades later. So have fun. See you on the next one.